I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, my hand still frozen on the handle. The door was slightly ajar, and through the crack, I heard my husband's voice, low and intimate, speaking into his phone. I had come home early from a charity luncheon, my heels silent on the marble floor, and now I wished I had stayed away. His words cut through the air like a blade, sharp and deliberate. No, I mean it, babe, I've always thought about it. If I could go back, I'd have chosen her. She's the one who should have been the mother of my kids, not this one. He paused, and I heard him laugh, a soft, cruel sound. Yeah, I know it's messed up, but can you blame me? She's elegant, she's smart, she's everything. My wife, she's just there. My blood turned to ice. I didn't need to see the phone screen to know who he was talking to. His best friend, Mark, the one who always laughed at my jokes but never looked me in the eye. I had heard the name before, in whispers, in the way my husband's eyes would glaze over when he talked about his college girlfriend, the one who got away. He had told me once, years ago, that she was the love of his life, but that was before we got married. I had convinced myself it was just nostalgia, the kind of wistful memory that fades with time, but now, hearing him say he wanted to have children with her, not with me, I felt the ground beneath me crack open. I stepped back, my heart pounding so loud I thought it would give me away, but I didn't make a sound. I had learned, over 5 years of marriage, to be invisible when it mattered. I slipped out of the house and walked to the garden, my fingers trembling as I lit a cigarette I didn't smoke. The smoke curled into the evening air, and I watched it dissolve. Just like every hope I had ever held for this marriage, I thought about the 2 miscarriages I had suffered in the past 3 years. The nights I had cried alone in the bathroom while he slept soundly, the way he had never once held my hand. During those dark hours, he had said all the right words, of course, but his eyes were always somewhere else. Now I knew where. I didn't confront him that night. I didn't scream or cry or throw his things out the window. That would have been too easy, too predictable. Instead, I went to bed early, and when he came in, smelling of cologne and lies, I pretended to be asleep. He slid into bed beside me, his body warm and familiar. But I felt nothing. I felt a cold clarity settle over me, a plan forming in the dark. I would not be the woman who begged for love. I would not be the wife who cried over a man who had already given his heart to another. I would become a ghost in his life, a shadow he could not grasp, and when he finally realized what he had lost, it would be too late. The next morning, I woke before him. I made coffee, the way I always did, but this time I didn't pour him a cup. I dressed in my sharpest suit, the one he had bought me for our anniversary, and I left the house. Without a word, he texted me at noon, a casual message asking if I had made dinner plans. I didn't reply. I let the message sit there, unanswered, like a stone dropped into a silent pond. I knew he would notice. Eventually, he was used to my constant attention, my careful management of his life. I had been the one who scheduled his doctor's appointments, who remembered his mother's birthday, who kept the house running like a well-oiled machine. But now, the machine was shutting down. Over the next week, I systematically removed myself from his world. I stopped cooking, I stopped cleaning, I stopped answering his calls during the day. When he asked me where I was going, I simply set out and walked past him. I could see the confusion in his eyes, the flicker of irritation, but he didn't push. He was too proud to admit that something was wrong, too comfortable in his assumption that I would always be there. I let him stew in his own arrogance. The first real blow came at a dinner party hosted by his business partner, a man named David. I had always been the perfect wife at these events, smiling, charming, playing the role of the devoted spouse, but tonight, I walked in alone, my heels clicking on the polished floor, my dress a deep crimson that turned heads. I saw my husband across the room, his face lighting up when he saw me, but I didn't go to him. I walked straight to the bar and ordered a martini. My back to him, I could feel his eyes on me, but I didn't turn around. A woman I recognized, a friend of his from college, approached me. "You're so lucky," she said, her voice dripping with envy. "Your husband is such a catch. I heard he's been talking about starting a family with you. How exciting." I smiled, a thin, cold smile. "Oh, he's not my husband," I said, my voice light and casual. "He's my cousin, actually, we're just close." Her eyes widened. "What?" But I thought. "People make mistakes," I said, taking a sip of my drink. "He's just My cousin, I don't know why everyone assumes otherwise. I saw my husband's head snap around, his face draining of color. He heard me, everyone heard me. The room went quiet for a second, and then the murmur of conversation resumed, but I could feel the whispers, the sideways glances. I had just publicly demoted him from husband to cousin, and in the social circle we moved in, that was a death sentence. He was a man who thrived on status, on being seen as the head of a perfect family, and now, I had ripped that image apart. He crossed the room in 3 long strides, his hand gripping my arm. "What are you doing?" he hissed, his voice low and angry. I looked at him, my eyes cold. "I'm just telling the truth, cousin, you and we're family, nothing more." He released me, his face a mask of shock and fury. I turned and walked away, leaving him standing there, alone in the middle of the party. I could feel his gaze burning into my back, but I didn't look back. I had planted the seed, and I knew it would grow. Over the next few weeks, I made sure to repeat the cousin line at every opportunity, at the grocery store, when a neighbor asked about him, at the gym, when a trainer commented on my wedding ring. "Oh, it's a family heirloom. My cousin gave it to me for safekeeping." Each time, the lie grew more solid, more believable, and each time, I saw my husband's reputation crumble a little more. He started to panic. He called me constantly, leaving voicemails that ranged from angry to pleading. "What are you doing? Why are you doing this? You're ruining everything." I never answered. I let him twist in the wind. I knew he was desperate, because he started showing up at my office, his tie askew, his eyes red-rimmed. He would stand in the lobby, waiting for me, but I would slip out the back door. I had already arranged for a security guard to escort me out, a small victory that made me smile. One night, he cornered me in the garage. He looked terrible, his shirt wrinkled, his hair unkempt. "Please," he said, his voice breaking, "I don't know what I did. Tell me what I did, and I'll fix it." I looked at him, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of pity, but then I remembered the phone call, the way he had laughed at my pain, the way he had wished for another woman to bear his children. The pity died. "You didn't do anything," I said, my voice flat. "I just realized I don't love you anymore. It's that simple." He reached for me, but I stepped back. "Don't touch me," I said, and my voice was so cold it surprised even me. "You made your choice a long time ago. You just didn't think I would find out." His face went pale. "Find out what?" I smiled, a slow, cruel smile. "I heard you, Michael. I heard you tell Mark that you wanted to have children with your ex-girlfriend. I heard you say I was just there. So now, I'm not there anymore. I'm gone." I got into my car and drove away, leaving him standing in the garage, his mouth open, his hands hanging uselessly at his sides. I didn't cry. I didn't feel anything but a cold, satisfying rage. This was only the beginning. I had 12 years of marriage to undo, and I was going to enjoy every second of it. The weeks that followed were a masterclass in destruction. I didn't just leave him, I erased him. I changed the passwords to our joint accounts, the ones he had never bothered to remember. I moved my personal belongings into a storage unit, piece by piece. While he was at work, I stopped wearing my wedding ring, and when people asked, I said it was being resized. I let the rumors spread, the ones I had started, until the entire city believed that Michael was just a distant relative, a man I tolerated out of family obligation. He started to lose his grip. His business partners, who had once respected him, now looked at him with pity. His friends, who had envied his perfect life, now whispered behind his back. He tried to fight back, to tell people the truth, but the truth was too late. I had already painted the picture, and no one wanted to hear his version. I was the wronged woman, the one who had been betrayed, and I played the part perfectly. I wore my sadness like a cloak, but underneath, I was burning with a cold fire. One afternoon, I received a call from his mother. She was a woman I had always disliked, a cold, manipulative creature who had never approved of me. "What is this nonsense I hear about you calling my son your cousin?" she demanded, her voice sharp. "It's not nonsense, Mother," I said, using the title I had always hated. "Michael and I are not married anymore. We're just family, distant family." "You're lying," she spat. "I know you're lying. You're trying to ruin him." "I'm not trying to ruin him," I said, my voice calm. "I'm just telling the truth. He doesn't love me. He never did. He told me so himself. So why should I pretend?" She was silent for a long moment, then she said, "You're a cold, heartless woman." "Maybe," I said, "but I learned from the best." I hung up, and I felt a surge of Power, I had taken control of my life, and I was not going to let anyone take it back. I started going out more, to parties, to galleries, to events I had never attended before. I dressed in bold colors, in clothes that showed off my body, clothes he had never liked. I danced with strangers, I laughed with friends, and I made sure he knew about it. I posted photos on social media, carefully curated images of a woman who was thriving, who was happy, who had no need for a man who didn't want her. He started showing up at these events, his face a mask of desperation. He would stand at the edge of the room, watching me, and I would ignore him. One night, at a charity gala, he cornered me on the balcony. "Please," he said, his voice hoarse, "I'm begging you, stop this, I'll do anything." I looked at him, and I saw the man I had once loved, the man I had married, the man who had broken my heart, but I also saw a stranger, a weak, pathetic creature who had thrown away everything for a fantasy. "Anything," I said, my voice mocking. "Would you go back in time and love me? Would you choose me over her?" He hesitated, and in that hesitation, I saw the truth. He would never choose me, not really. He would always want her, the one who got away, the perfect woman who existed only in his memory. "I thought so," I said, and I walked away. The next day, I filed for divorce. I didn't tell him. I let the papers arrive at his office, a cold, formal document that spelled out the end of our marriage. He called me, screaming, crying, begging. I listened for a moment, and then I hung up. I had no more time for his tears. The legal battle was brutal. He fought me on everything, the house, the cars, the investments, but I had a secret weapon. I had documented everything, the phone call, the texts, the emails. I had saved every piece of evidence that proved he was an unfaithful, emotionally abusive man. My lawyer, a sharp woman named Elena, used it all. She painted a picture of a man who had never loved his wife, who had only married her for convenience, who had been planning to leave her for years. In the end, I got everything, the house, the cars, the majority of the assets. He was left with nothing but his pride, and even that was in tatters. The judge, a stern woman with a kind face, looked at me with sympathy. "You deserve better," she said, and I nodded, my eyes dry. The day the divorce was finalized, I threw a party. I invited all my friends, all the people who had supported me, and I danced until my feet ached. I drank champagne and laughed, and I felt free. For the first time in years, I was not defined by a man. I was not the wife of Michael Chen. I was just me, and I was enough. But the story didn't end there. A week later, I received a letter. It was from his ex-girlfriend, the one he had wanted to have children with. Her name was Sarah, and she had heard about the divorce. She wrote to me, her words careful and apologetic. "I'm sorry," she wrote. "I didn't know he was married. He contacted me a few months ago, saying he wanted to reconnect. I told him no, I have my own life now, my own family. I never wanted to be part of his fantasy." I read the letter twice, and I felt a strange sense of closure. She was not the enemy. She was just a woman who had moved on, who had found happiness elsewhere. The enemy was Michael, the man who had built a prison of lies and expected me to live in it. I burned the letter, and I watched the ashes float away in the wind. I had taken everything from him, and I had given myself a new life. But I knew, deep down, that the war was not over. He would come back. Men like him always did. They couldn't stand to lose, and they couldn't stand to be forgotten, and I was ready. I had built a fortress around my heart, and I had sharpened my claws. If he came back, I would tear him apart. But for now, I was content to watch him burn from a distance, to see his world crumble piece by piece. It was a slow, satisfying revenge, and I was going to savor every moment. Section 3, The Silence Before the Storm. The days after the party blurred into a quiet rhythm. I had expected Michael to surface within a week, perhaps two, a dramatic plea, a legal maneuver, or a drunken appearance at my doorstep. But the silence stretched into 3 weeks, then 4. My phone remained still, my email inbox stayed empty of his name. Even my lawyer, Elena, noted the unusual calm. "He's licking his wounds," she said during our weekly check-in, her voice crisp over the speakerphone. "Men like Michael don't vanish, they regroup." I sat in my new living room, my living room now, stripped of his minimalist furniture and replaced with colors he would have called garish, a deep teal sofa, a Persian rug in shades of rust and gold, art on the walls that he would have dismissed as too emotional. I had spent the settlement money deliberately, reclaiming space that had never truly been mine. "He sold his condo," I said, tapping the edge of my laptop. I checked the public Records. He's renting a studio in the financial district. The address is a block away from his old office. Elena hummed approval. You're monitoring him. I'm aware of him. There's a difference. She laughed. A short, sharp sound. Keep telling yourself that. But listen, I've seen this before. The quiet phase is dangerous. He's not gone. He's building a narrative, and when he comes back, it won't be with flowers. It'll be with a story that casts him as the victim I had already considered. That, Michael was a master of revisionist history. In his mind, our marriage had been a series of his sacrifices and my demands. The affair with Sarah, no, the fantasy of Sarah, was just a symptom of his unhappiness, a unhappiness he would now blame on me. Let him tell his story, I said. No one will believe him. Don't underestimate the power of a sympathetic narrative. He's charming, he's handsome, and he knows how to weaponize vulnerability. I ended the call and walked to the window. The city stretched below, a grid of lights and shadows. Somewhere in that grid, Michael was plotting. I could feel it in my bones, a low hum of anticipation. The war was not over, it was merely in a ceasefire. 2 weeks later, the first sign came. I was at a gallery opening, a small, avant-garde space in the arts district. A friend from my pre-Michael days had curated the exhibition, and I had promised to attend. I wore a black dress, simple and sharp, and I had let my hair fall loose. I felt beautiful, not for anyone else, but for myself. I was studying a piece, a collage of torn photographs and handwritten letters, when I felt a presence behind me. The air shifted, carrying a familiar scent, sandalwood and bergamot, the cologne I had bought him 3 Christmases ago. I turned slowly. He stood a few feet away, dressed in a charcoal suit that I recognized from our joint closet. He looked thinner. His jaw was sharper, his eyes more hollow. He held a glass of white wine, and his smile was careful, practiced. You look stunning, he said. I said nothing. I'm not here to cause a scene, he continued, stepping closer. I wanted to see you, to talk. We have nothing to talk about, Michael. We have everything to talk about. His voice dropped, intimate and pleading. I made mistakes, I know that, but I never stopped loving you. I laughed. It was a cold sound, surprising even myself. You never loved me. You loved the idea of me, the wife who would tolerate your absences, your secrets, your fantasies. You loved the convenience of me. He flinched. That's not true. It is true, and you know it. I set down my glass on a nearby table. If you're here to apologize, save your breath. If you're here to beg, save your dignity. I have nothing left to give you. He reached for my arm, his fingers brushing my skin. I pulled back as if burned. Don't touch me, please, he said, and his voice cracked. I have nothing. You took everything, the house, the cars, the accounts. I'm living in a shoebox. I can't even afford to pay my lawyer. Good, I said. Now you know what it feels like to be used. I turned and walked away, weaving through the crowd. I could feel his eyes on my back, burning with desperation and something darker. I did not look back that night. I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the encounter, his hollow eyes, his trembling voice, the way he had reached for me, as if he had any right to touch what he had broken. I had felt powerful in that moment, but power, I knew, was fleeting. Michael was not the kind of man to accept defeat quietly. He would find another way in. He would exploit every crack in my armor. I reached for my phone and called Elena. He showed up, I said. Where? A gallery. He approached me, tried to apologize. And you said? I told him we had nothing to talk about. There was a pause, then Elena said, good, but expect more. He's testing the waters. Next time, he'll be bolder. What should I do? Document everything, every encounter, every message, every attempt at contact. If he escalates, we file for a restraining order. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. And if he doesn't escalate, then he's planning something else. Either way, you stay vigilant. I hung up and stared at the dark window. The city hummed outside, indifferent to my war. But I was not indifferent. I was awake, alert, and ready. Section 4, The Counterattack. 3 days later, the first shot was fired. I was at my desk, reviewing documents for a freelance consulting project, when my phone buzzed, a notification from a mutual friend, a post on social media, tagged with my name. I opened it. It was a photograph, a candid shot of Michael and me at a charity gala 2 years ago. We were laughing, his arm around my shoulder, my head tilted toward his. The caption read, remembering better times. Some people change, some people reveal who they always were. The comments were already Flooding in asterisk what happened, I heard you two split, asterisk comma asterisk Michael, you deserve happiness, don't let anyone drag you down, asterisk comma asterisk she was always too cold for you, asterisk I felt a cold fury settle in my chest. He was building his narrative, painting himself as the victim, me as the villain who had abandoned him. The comments were from his friends, his colleagues. People who had only seen the mask he wore in public. I did not respond. That was what he wanted, a reaction, a public fight, a chance to drag me into his mud. Instead, I called Elena. He's starting a smear campaign, I said, my voice flat. I saw it, she said. I have a team monitoring his accounts. He's been posting for 3 days, slowly building sympathy. The gala photo was just the opening act. What do I do? Nothing. Let him dig his own grave. But I'm sending you a list of actions. First, document everything. Screenshot every post, every comment. Second, I want you to write a statement. Calm, factual, no emotion. We'll keep it on file in case we need to release it. And third, you live your life, loudly, happily. The best revenge is irrelevance. I followed her advice. I did not engage. I did not defend myself. Instead, I posted a photograph of my own, a picture of my new living room, sunlight streaming through the windows, a cup of tea on the table. The caption was simple, home. The contrast was deliberate. His posts were desperate, clinging to the past. Mine were forward-looking, grounded in the present. But Michael was not done. A week later, I received a letter, not from Sarah this time, but from his mother. Mrs. Chen was a woman I had never truly known. She had been polite during our marriage, distant but not unkind. She had never interfered, never taken sides, but now, her letter was a blade wrapped in silk. Asterisk dear, my name, asterisk, I hope this letter finds you well. I know that you and Michael have parted ways, and I respect that. But I am writing to ask for your mercy. Asterisk, Michael is not well. He has lost weight. He cannot sleep. He speaks of you constantly, with regret and longing. I do not know what happened between you, but I know my son. He is not a bad man. He is a man who made mistakes. Asterisk, please consider giving him a chance to explain, to apologize, to make amends. Asterisk, with hope. Asterisk, Mrs. Joe Ho Hot. Asterisk. I read the letter 3 times, then I set it on fire in my kitchen sink, watching the flames curl the paper into ash. Mercy, she asked for mercy, but mercy was a luxury I could not afford. Michael had not shown me mercy when he lied. He had not shown me mercy when he planned a future with another woman while I slept beside him. He had not shown me mercy when he made me feel small, invisible, unworthy. I would not give him what he had never given me. That evening, I received a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something, instinct, perhaps, made me pick up. Hello, silence, then breathing. Michael, I said, I know it's you. I'm sorry. He said, his voice raw. I'm so sorry. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know, I never meant to hurt you. I was lost. I was confused. Stop, I said. I don't want your apologies. I don't want your explanations. I want you to disappear from my life. I can't, he whispered. I can't let you go. You don't have a choice. I hung up and blocked the number, but as I stood in my kitchen, staring at the ashes in the sink, I knew this was not the end. Michael would keep coming. He would use his mother, his friends, his social media. He would try every door, every window, every crack, and I would keep slamming them shut. The war was not over, but I was no longer the woman who had wept in the bathroom, wondering what she had done wrong. I was the woman who had burned his world to the ground and built her own from the ashes. If he came back, I would be ready, and this time, I would not just defend, I would attack. The ashes in my sink had long since been washed away, but the memory of that letter, and the woman who wrote it, lingered like smoke in my lungs. I had burned Mrs. Joe Ho Hot's plea for mercy, but I knew she would not stop there. Mothers like her never did. They believed in the righteousness of their sons, in the sanctity of family, in the power of guilt to bend others to their will. I was not going to bend. The next morning, I received a text from an unknown number, not Michael's. I had blocked him, and he knew better than to try again so soon. But the message was unmistakably from his mother. Asterisk, I understand you are angry, but anger is a poison. Please, let us talk. I am not asking you to forgive him. I am asking you to hear him. One conversation, that is all. Asterisk, I deleted the message without responding. Then I called Elena. She's escalating, I said, my voice flat. the mother, she texted me this morning. Elena was quiet for a moment. She's testing your boundaries. She wants to see if you'll engage, if you respond. Even to say no, she'll interpret that as an opening. I know. I didn't reply. Good, but you need to be prepared for what comes next. She'll go to your friends, your family, your workplace. She'll try to create a narrative where you're being unreasonable, cold-hearted, refusing to even listen. I've already told my parents what happened. I said, they know the truth. My friends know. My boss knows. Then you're ahead of the game, but don't underestimate her. She's been playing this game for decades. She knows how to manipulate sympathy. I looked out my kitchen window at the garden I had planted after moving into this house. The roses were blooming, deep red, almost black in the morning light. I had bought this house with my own money, in my own name. After the divorce was finalized, it was mine, every brick, every window, every flower. What do you recommend? I asked. Document everything, Elena said. Every message, every call, every attempt at contact. If she shows up at your door, record it. If she sends you a letter, keep it. Build a paper trail, if you need to. Get a restraining order, you'll have the evidence. And Michael, he's the bigger threat. He's already shown he's willing to use social media to manipulate public opinion. He'll do it again. He'll find new angles, new narratives. He might even try to make you look like the aggressor. He can try, I said. I have receipts, then use them, but strategically. Don't respond to every attack. Pick your battles, and when you do strike, make it count. I hung up and sat in silence for a long time. The house was quiet, too quiet. I had grown used to the silence over the past 6 months, but sometimes it still felt like a weight pressing down on my chest. I thought about the moment I had decided to leave Michael. It wasn't the night I found the messages. It wasn't the night he told me he wanted children with someone else. It was the morning after, when I woke up and looked at his face on the pillow beside me, and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just a cold, hollow emptiness. That was. When I knew it was over, I had spent the next 3 months planning my exit. I consulted a lawyer, moved my assets, found this house, packed my things in secret. I told Michael I was going on a business trip. Instead, I moved out while he was at work. He came home to an empty closet and a note on the kitchen counter. *, I know everything. Don't contact me. The divorce papers will be delivered to your office. *. It took him 2 weeks to find me. 2 weeks of calls, texts, emails, voicemails. 2 weeks of him pleading, apologizing, threatening, crying. 2 weeks of me ignoring every single attempt, and then he went public. The first post appeared on his Instagram, a photo of him sitting alone at a restaurant, looking dejected. The caption, "Sometimes the people you love most are the ones who hurt you the most." I had laughed when I saw it, actually laughed. The audacity of it was almost impressive, but the laughter didn't last, because his followers, our mutual friends, his colleagues, strangers who didn't know the truth, started commenting. "Stay strong, man, she doesn't deserve you, karma will get her." I had become the villain in his story, and I had let him write it. For 2 weeks, I stayed silent. I let him paint me as the cold, heartless woman who had abandoned a good man for no reason. I let him play the victim. I let him win the court of public opinion. But then I realized, I didn't have to let him. I had evidence, screenshots of his messages, recordings of his calls, financial records showing he had been planning a future with another woman while we were still married. I had everything I needed to destroy him, and I would use it, but not yet. I was waiting for the right moment, the moment when his lies had grown so big, so elaborate, that the fall would be devastating. "Patience," Elena had said, "the longer you wait, the harder they fall." I checked my phone, a new notification from Instagram. A direct message from an account I didn't recognize. *Hi, I'm a friend of Michael's sister. I just wanted to say that I think you're being really unfair to him. He's a good person. You should give him a chance to explain. *. I screenshot the message and added it to my folder. Then I blocked the account. They were coming out of the woodwork now. Friends, family, strangers who had been swept up in Michael's narrative. They all wanted to tell me how wrong I was, how unfair I was being, how I should give him a chance. They didn't know the truth. They didn't know about the late nights, the lies, the other woman. They didn't know about the baby he wanted to have with someone else, and I wasn't going to tell them. Not yet, not until the moment was right. I stood up and walked to my home office. The walls were still bare, but I had plans to fill them with art, with photographs, with evidence of a life I was building on my own. I opened my laptop and checked my email. A new message from my lawyer. *. The divorce is finalized. You are officially free. The terms of the settlement have been executed. Your assets are protected. If he violates the terms, we will take legal action. Asterisk. I read the email 3 times, then I closed my laptop and sat back in my chair. Free. I was free, but freedom, I was learning, came with its own set of battles, because Michael was not going to let me go. He had made that clear. He would keep coming, keep trying, keep pushing until I either broke or fought back, and I was done breaking. 3 days passed without incident. I began to hope that Michael had finally understood that my silence was not weakness, but strategy, that the wall I had built was not going to crumble. I was wrong. On the 4th day, I received a package. It was delivered to my front door, wrapped in brown paper, with no return address. My name was written in neat, careful handwriting that I recognized immediately. Mrs. Joe Hohot. I brought the package inside and set it on my kitchen counter. I stared at it for a long time, my hands hovering over the paper. Part of me wanted to throw it in the trash, unopened, but the other part, the part that had learned to be careful, to document everything, knew I had to open it. Inside was a box, and inside the box was a photograph. It was a picture of Michael and me on our wedding day. We were standing in front of the altar, smiling, holding hands. I looked happy. I looked in love. I looked like a woman who believed she had found her forever. I had been so wrong. Beneath the photograph was a letter, handwritten, on cream-colored paper, the same handwriting as before. Asterisk. Dear, name, comma, asterisk, comma, asterisk. I know you do not want to hear from me. I know you burned my last letter, but I am writing again because I cannot stop thinking about you, about us, about what we had. Asterisk, comma, asterisk. I know I hurt you. I know I broke your trust, but I am not the same man I was. I have changed. I have grown. I have learned. Asterisk, comma, asterisk. I am not asking you to take me back. I am not asking you to forgive me. I am asking you to let me prove to you that I can be better. Asterisk, comma, asterisk. Please, one conversation, that is all I ask. Asterisk, comma, asterisk. If after that conversation you still want me to disappear, I will, I promise. Asterisk, comma, asterisk. But give me one chance. Asterisk, comma, asterisk. With all my love. Asterisk, comma, asterisk. Michael. Asterisk. I read the letter twice, then I set it down and picked up my phone. I called Elena. He sent me a letter, I said, handwritten, with a photograph from our wedding. What did it say? I read it to her. She was quiet for a moment. He's trying to manipulate you. He's using nostalgia, guilt, and the promise of change. It's a classic abuser tactic, I know. But you're not going to respond, are you? No, I said, I'm not going to respond, but I'm going to keep the letter, and I'm going to add it to my evidence folder. Good. And the photograph. I looked at the picture, at my younger self, so full of hope, so blind to the truth. I'm going to burn it, I said. I did. I took the photograph and the letter and set them on fire in my kitchen sink, just like I had done with the first letter. I watched the flames consume the images, the words, the memories. When it was done, I washed the ashes down the drain, but as I stood there, staring at the empty sink, I felt something shift inside me. I was tired of burning things. I was tired of being reactive, of waiting for him to make the next move. I was tired of playing defense. It was time to go on offense. I called Elena again. I want to do something, I said. I want to go public. Are you sure? She asked. Once you do, there's no going back. I know, but I'm tired of letting him control the narrative. I'm tired of being the villain in his story. I want to tell the truth. And what will you say? I thought about it. I thought about the messages, the calls, the other woman. I thought about the baby he wanted to have with someone else. I thought about the years I had wasted on a man who had never really loved me. I'll say everything, I said. I'll show the screenshots. I'll play the recordings. I'll prove that he's a liar and a manipulator, and I'll do it in a way that he can't spin or deny. Elena was quiet for a long time, then she said, I think that's a good idea, but I want you to be prepared for the backlash. Not everyone will believe you. Some people will still side with him, and he will try to retaliate. I know, but if you're ready, I'll help you draft the statement. Thank you, I said. I'll send you the evidence tonight. I hung up and sat down at my laptop. I opened the folder where I had stored everything, the screenshots, the recordings, the financial documents, the letters from his mother. I organized them chronologically, creating a timeline of his lies and betrayals. Then I began to write. I wrote about the night I found the messages. I wrote about the morning he told me he wanted children with someone else. I wrote about the months of planning, the secret accounts, the hidden phone. I wrote about the divorce, the social media campaign, the letters from his mother. I wrote the truth. When I was done, I sent the document to Elena. She would help me refine it, make it airtight, ensure that every claim was backed by evidence. Then I would post it, and Michael's world would burn, but this time, I would not be the one left in the ashes, I would be the one holding the match. I pressed send, and for a long moment, the world held its breath. Then came the notifications, a slow trickle at first, then a flood. Elena's name flashed on my screen, followed by a single word, done. I watched from my kitchen window as the morning light crept over the city, the same light that would soon expose every shadow Michael had built. Within hours, the post had been shared thousands of times. His business partners called, his sister called, his mother, predictably, left a voicemail that began with "How could you?" and ended with sobbing. I deleted it without listening to the middle. The divorce lawyer sent me a terse email. He's dropped the counterclaim, he wants to settle. I didn't respond. Let him wait, let him sit in the silence he had tried so hard to create for me. The months that followed were not easy. There were threats. There were smear campaigns launched by his friends. There were nights I woke up convinced I had made a terrible mistake, but then I would open my phone and see the messages from strangers. "Thank you, I left him too, your story saved me," and I understood that the fire I had started was not just for me, it was for every woman who had been told her voice was too loud, her pain too inconvenient, her truth too destructive to speak. The book deal came in the spring, the restraining order in the summer. By autumn, Michael had moved 3 states away, his reputation a smoldering ruin he could not rebuild. I did not gloat, I did not celebrate, I simply lived, in the quiet, in the late afternoons when the sun fell through the blinds and I could sit without flinching at the sound of a key in the lock. I learned to trust my own silence again, and when I finally typed the last page of the manuscript, the one that told the full story, not just the post, but the years before and the years after, I closed my laptop and walked outside. The air smelled like rain and possibility. I was not holding a match anymore, I was holding myself, the end.